Dear students, this is module number 167 for the subject of strategic human resource management. And in this chapter, we are trying to understand employee engagement, its antecedents, its consequences, and what it is. So, differences in research findings and different surveys, different results. This is the title of this module. So, within the practitioner's domain, every consultancy firm has its own measure of engagement. Um, Remember, everybody, that this is important that when you are using a scale to measure something, it makes a difference which scale you use. Then it is difficult to compare one thing from the other. One can argue that you used a different scale to measure something. For example, if I think about this is the measure of happiness, another person think about this is the measure of happiness, another person define and measure happiness in a different way, how can you compare if the results are dramatically different? So, within the practitioner's domain, every consultancy firm has its own measure of engagement. I hope you people are understanding when I keep on talking about measure because it is slightly as research terminology. A measure is, for example, a survey instrument, or it is a survey, it is an instrument, it is a scale. You are asked questions and there might be some responses and you pick that responses. For example, the question is, I'm happy at my work, agree to disagree. So yes, yes, and then you say, I like my work, and this is measure. This is a measure of happiness at work, or this is a measure of job satisfaction at work. So similarly, employee engagement is also being measured by different practitioners. If somebody asks you and survey in your organization and ask these questions and you respond to them, then one can conclude that whether the employee engagement in this organization is high or low. I'm just giving this explanation to because I believe that you might not be very familiar with the research terminologies. However, you may be. So, within the practitioner's domain, we talk about one of the most well known and commonly used is the Gallup organization's workplace audit. And Harter et al. It published and in 2002. What is that? I said that Gallup organization is one organization actually that really triggered the interest, or that really fostered the interest of academics and also practitioners in employee engagement. So their survey is very famous, and their measure is also widely used, and but used by the Gallup et al., but also by some other researchers. The corporate leadership CLC found that around 25% of the workforce are strongly engaged in those organizations where engagement levels are highest. As I said before, when your engagement levels are highest, found that around 25% of the workforce are strongly engaged. So, well, 25% of the workforce is strongly engaged. What about rest of the 75%? So, Towers and Perrin study 2007 found that 12% of public sector staff are highly engaged and 22% are disengaged. Let's talk about another study. Johnson 2004 found that around half of US employees are either not fully engaged or disengaged. I hope you people recall, I just recently I was talking about that, why there is a boost and why there is a increase or enhanced interest in employee engagement. Actually, it started from the United States when the Gallup conducted a survey, and they found that 50% of the United States workforce or employees in the organizations, they are disengaged. That actually really gave a warning to the United States organizations, because definitely they have to compete with the organizations in the Far East like Japan and Hong Kong and Taiwan, and they also have to compete with the Western organizations and Indian organizations in particular. So it was a warning and a very threatening, alarming situation for the United States organizations, that 50% of your employees are disengaged, not effective, not putting efforts, not paying attention, not bringing their head, heart, and hearts, only bringing hands, but not bringing their head and heart at workplace. So this is another study found that 14% of all employees worldwide are engaged. 14%. Not a very high percentage, fairly speaking. So Truss et al. 2006 found that 35% of UK employees are strongly engaged. Now, coming back to the point, the inconsistencies. These different surveys, they have used the different measure. Okay, different questions in the survey to measure whether in those organizations employees are engaged or not, or in this country employees are engaged or not. So they used a different scale, different measure. First thing. Second thing is that the results are also different. 14%, 35%, 22%, half of the United States. So this is what is bringing confusion over what employee engagement is, how to measure it. So inconsistencies in the report figures can be attributed to why there are inconsistencies. First thing first, this is what I say almost in every module. Definition is important. If you cannot define something, you cannot measure it. If you cannot explain something, you do not understand something or that thing. So different definitions have confused over what is employee engagement, and different measures have doubted or casted the doubt on whether these surveys are reliable and their findings are valid, whether really it is that much employees are engaged or disengaged. And lastly, different statistical techniques. What we mean by statistical techniques in research, people understand what I'm talking about, that the software or the statistical technique or the statistical method you have used to analyze the data. For example, you have got a lot of data from 1,000, 3,000 employees. Now, how would you examine the impact of something on employee engagement, and how would you measure employee engagement, and then the impact of employee engagement on some outcomes? So you need some statistical softwares and you need some statistical techniques to find out and to derive some results or findings from that data. So different measures, different definitions, and different statistical techniques have really casted the doubt on employee engagement, what it is, how to measure, and what to do. Thank you.